Okay. Everybody, once I turn on my screen share. Oh, excellent. Thanks, Linda. Once I turn on my screen share, I kind of go into a dark zone, so I can't see questions or anything like that. So I'm going to try and get this through this information in about 45 minutes. And then I will stop sharing my screen and open the chat up for some questions. But always know that if I don't get to your questions, just email me and I will either answer them or do my best to find the answer. So we've got one more minute. I've got my trusty Madeline here. She's going to make sure that you are seeing what I need you to see, because this is the biggest angst I have with sharing my screen here. So I'm actually going to, let me start sharing my screen now, make sure we're on the same page here. Okay, hold on a minute. All right, let's see. Okay. Ah, what wonderful. Okay, we are good to go. Thank you, Madeline. My cheerleading squad, she's just leaving now. So, okay, so we are going to get started here. As I said, I want to be mindful of your time, and I want to, I tend to talk a lot, so I want to make sure I get all the information out. So the topic of today's webinar is optimizing your lymphatic system. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because if you have not had a problem with your lymphatic system, or if it has not been called to your attention by a doctor or a physician, you may not even have heard of this or really understand what your lymphatic system is. And as you'll come to see, it's a very important part of our overall health. Okay, so for those who don't know me, and thank you for joining, by the way, everybody. We have a lot of people, a lot of participants today, so I'm very pleased about that. So for those who don't know me, my name is Cathy Biase, and I am a holistic nutritionist, and I specialize in the functional application of nutrition to help get to root cause, to relieve symptomology. And my specialty is in cancer care. So here are all my credentials. I'm quite active on Instagram. If you're not a Facebook person, I'm there too. But do feel free to follow me on my social sites. I pride myself in being accessible to, I do the best I can to respond to emails or messages. So please do feel free to message me. And if I can help you out, I will most certainly do so. So I want to start off here with what the role of the lymphatic system is. And as I mentioned, well, it's often overlooked or not even understood or known to be within us. The lymphatic system is a critical part of three other systems in our body, and that is the immune system, the cardiovascular system, and the digestive system. The immune system has three primary functions, and the first one is to support the immune system. And it does this by removing and filtering excess fluid and waste from body tissues, interstitial tissues. And it is also involved in the production of immune cells such as lymphocytes, monocytes, and antibody producing cells. So extremely important piece of our immune system. With respect to the health and support of our cardiovascular system, I'm going to get into this in a little bit more detail because I think it's very important for you to understand that if fluid is not shunted back from the interstitial tissues, and we're going to see how the fluid gets to the interstitial tissues, if it's not shunted back into the circulatory system, this will greatly impact blood pressure and the blood volume. And if this fluid is not shunted back, it will fall precipitously. So an extremely important supporter of the cardiovascular system. And one that's not well known for many people who pride themselves on knowing the lymphatic system, it's to some extent, is in the support of the digestive system. So all fat that we eat is absorbed by the lymphatic system before it's transferred to the bloodstream where it's used as fuel. Fat can't, like other like nutrients, all the other nutrients that we take into our digestive system is absorbed directly into the blood from the gut, but fat can't be, because the molecules are too large and they just wouldn't get into the tiny capillaries that line the gut, and it would clog them up. So instead, the lymphatic system absorbs the fats and fat-soluble vitamins from the digestive system and transports it to venous circulation. And the mucosa that lines the small intestine is covered with these finger-like projections, and they're called villi. And I'm going to show you a slide in a minute here about them. And there are blood capillaries and special lymph capillaries called lacteals that are in each of these villi. The blood capillaries, as I said, absorb most of the nutrients, but the fat and fat-soluble vitamins are absorbed by these lacteals. And as well as doing this, any, again, interstitial fluid within the gut is absorbed by, most is absorbed by the lymphatic system, again, to go back into circulation into the blood. So let's take a closer look at first the villi and then the other parts of the lymphatic system. So what I want to show you here, this is a cross-section, I guess you would call it, of the small intestine. And so I'm not sure if I can use this, so if you'll see this or not, but this is the section of the small intestine. And these finger-like projections, I don't think you can see it, but these finger-like projections right here are called the villi. And right here, the villi are a number of them. Villus is a singular one. So the villus, as you can see here, is it's part of, you can see how it's associated with the circulatory system. You can see where the blood capillaries are within each of the villi, and the lacteal, which is the part of the lymphatic system. So this is the structure that I wanted to show you. The lacteal is a lymphatic vessel, and as I said here, it's present in the small intestine. And as well as absorbing the fat, I want you to understand that that's a part of the digestion. It also does remove other fluids to take them back into the circulatory system. So I wanted to show you that cross section so you have a little bit more of an idea how interwoven the lymphatic system is with the circulatory system. We have another diagram coming up too that will show you that a little bit more clearly as well. So the anatomy of the lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system itself is made up of organs, nodes, ducts, tissues, capillaries, and they are all in a network of lymphatic vessels. So here's the breakdown of how that works. Lymphatic vessels are a system of vessels that run throughout the body, pretty much like alongside the blood vessels. And you'll come to understand why that is. The lymph fluid is a colorless fluid that's comprised of infection and bacteria fighting white blood cells, and it runs through the lymphatic vessels. The lymph nodes, this is one phrase or one section of the lymphatic system you may be familiar with, especially under the neck area. These are small nodes within the network of the lymphatic vessels, and they're responsible for filtering out infection, bacteria, waste. Basically, they're the cleansing, the dishwasher of the lymphatic system, so that when this fluid goes back into the blood vessel, phone's ringing. So when this lymphatic fluid goes back into the circulatory system, it's cleansed. We also have lymphoid organs, and this is the thymus, a gland that's situated behind the breastplate. And this is responsible for T cell production, which is a type of white blood cell. We have the spleen, an organ located in the upper left. I'm actually showing you this, but you can't see. Upper left of the abdomen, and it's responsible for storing cells that also filter out the blood. So part of the lymphatic system and storage of blood. And the tonsils that are located in the back of the throat. And also the appendix, which is located in the gut area alongside the intestine. And that also is a filtration before small intestinal particles or waste go into the large intestine. So the appendix, I think we once thought of as a useless piece of tissue, is also becoming more and more known for its importance for the health of the gut. And then there's the lymphatic tissue. And the tissue, there are a bunch of tissues throughout the body. The tissues of the bowel produce cells that regulate pathogens that work to destroy. The tissue of the bowel produce cells that recognize pathogens that help to destroy them. Bone marrow inside of the bones produces defense cells that mitigate and migrate out into the blood to help fight pathogens. And there's a big umbrella term called mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue, and that's called MALT, M-A-L-T, that's the acronym. And these are various systems throughout the mucosa of our body that are supporting the lymph system, also doing the same as all the other tissues of the body, but they support the lymph system and they're filtering and getting back into the circulatory system this fluid. So under the MALT, you'll have acronyms like GALT, which is gut-associated lymphatic tissue, TALT, which is tonsil associated. So there's a myriad number of them throughout the body, pinpointing each region. And all of these tissue patches and regions without the mucosal lining serve to support the lymphatic system and its functions. So how does the lymphatic system work? Lymph fluid drains into the capillaries, which are tiny, tiny vessels. And then from there, the fluid is pushed along as a person breathes through musculature contraction that we'll talk about shortly. And it makes its way into the vessels up and then is dropped into the large area in the thoracic cavity and then back into the blood system. Very simple. The drainage is in the upper chest area, and from there back into the circulatory system, and then the whole process starts again. And I'll break it down to you and explain to you quite clearly how from the network of circulatory system, how this interstitial tissue fluid actually happens. It's called interstitial fluid within the cellular environment until it is actually absorbed into the lymphatic system. And it's at that point that it is called lymph. So lymph isn't just one type of tissue fluid that circulates around. It's actually a continual and ongoing funneling of interstitial tissue fluid that is produced as blood is circulating throughout the body, dropping off nutrients into each and every region. So as lymph fluid enters the lymph nodes, macrophages fight off these foreign pathogens, waste, anything that the body does not really want back into circulation. And once these have been all filtered out, the lymph fluid goes through the nodes, it goes to the veins, and it re-enters the bloodstream. So it's a really circular movement. But one thing that you can note right now is that the circulatory system has a pump, and that pump is our heart. So that pump is pumping the blood through the arteries, back to the veins, into the heart. But our lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. And when we get talking about supporting the health of the lymphatic system, you're going to get a clearer picture of why we need to be active participants in taking care of the health of the system. So this is a diagram, a little bit more of an anatomical view of exactly how the lymph vessels work within the capillaries of the arterioles and the venous capillaries. And what this diagram here is, the red along the bottom is an artery and filtering down. So we start off with a big artery, and as it moves away from the heart, it gets smaller in size, and it forms capillaries. And so what happens is these capillaries, which looks like sort of the trunk of the tree down here in the red with the little branches, they kind of move up and they are connected with capillaries of the venous pathway. So the vein is the green, the red is the artery, and they intertwine in like a tree sort of idea here. And within that comes the vessels of the lymphatic system, the capillaries of the lymphatic system. So coming in from my left and going through, sort of, it looks like the top of a tree there. What is happening is the arterial aspect shunts fluid to areas of the tissue, and through pressure, the blood is seeped out into the tissues that the artery is supporting. And what that is doing is it's bathing those tissues with food and nutrients to make them healthy. So it's a physical pushing out of the fluid into surrounding tissue. And how it gets back into the venous pathway is by osmosis. So what's happening is there's a negative in the vein, and it's sucking in that fluid into the venous pathway and then back through to the circulatory system. So I'm hoping that's clear. So the artery pushes things out into the surrounding tissue to provide nutrients, and then it's sucked back in, about 70% of it, into the venous pathway through osmotic pressure. And then what's left in the interstitial tissue there is absorbed by the lymphatic system. So I'm hoping that that is pretty clear to you. There is lymph organs and tissues that are all over the body. So again, if that's not 100% clear, I know it's clear in my mind, but if it's not clear the way I've explained it to you, hold that question and we can go back over it again. It's an important piece here. So I want to get back again to this idea of absorbing the fluid. The fluid that gets released from the blood vessels that enters the surrounding tissues, if it was not reabsorbed back into the circulatory system, the fluid would build up in tissues and cause swelling in the body. A common area for this is the ankles. Also, fluid can get into the lungs. It just needs to be reabsorbed. It can cause swelling in many areas. The fluid loss is approximately 2 liters a day out of the pathway of the circulatory system into the tissue. So again, if this fluid is not reabsorbed, you could get very dehydrated. So we need the lymphatic system for the blood pressure, for the blood volume, and also for hydrating. So an important concept here, we talk about how important water is for overall health, but it's very important for the lymphatic system. And oddly enough, a lot of people that have issues with the lymphatic system stay away from water, which is not ideal. So again, it's a concept that you kind of have to get your mind around. I know when I started looking at lymphatic system, it took me a little bit to try and get, you look at it in a book and you read things, but until you can kind of piece it together and sort of see by pictures and someone explaining it to you, it can be a little bit obtuse. So hopefully we're getting to the bottom of this now. You may have experienced some, these are the lymph nodes, as I mentioned to you. This is the clearing area. So this is where all the lymph nodes around the body, there are hundreds of them, they work to filter out any waste that we don't want, waste and bacteria, pathogens, before it gets back into the blood system. So you may have experienced swelling lymph nodes under the neck. And most times these are painless, and they are, virtually they're a sign of your immune system and your lymphatic system working. They will swell up until the issue is the infection is taken care of, and then they will go down. This is a great sign that things are working on point. Sometimes though, things can get a little bit more serious, and the lymph nodes stay swollen or inflamed. And the most common causes diseases that can go through the lymphatic system are, we have four of them, I think here: lymphomas, which is a type of cancer that starts in the lymph nodes, and it multiplies and forms tumors that can spread to other parts of the body. Hodgkin's disease, which is a cancer of the lymphatic system. Another issue where you might see the lymph node swollen here or other parts of the body in the back, along the groin, is edema, which is water retention and fluid buildup, and this can cause swelling and the lymph nodes to swell. And a really common one is tonsillitis, which will affects the tonsil area, so the tonsil associated lymphatic tissue, and this can cause swelling as well. Splenomegaly is an enlarged spleen, and this can be caused by a viral infection, and this can cause the spleen to swell and maybe even rupture. But these are just things that can go through the lymphatic system, different diseases of the lymphatic system. But most times, as I mentioned, when the nodes are swelling and going up and down, this is just a good sign that whatever is in the body that the body doesn't want, the lymphatic system is healthy and taking care of it. So how do we tell if the lymphatic system is fatigued or not working properly? There are some signs that are readily available. One is the swelling of the lymph nodes that don't go down. But beyond that is bloating. Again, so the tissues are not being alleviated of the fluid that needs to be done. So you'll see bloating and swelling in fingers or around your ankles. It can lead to brain fog, sinus infections, digestive issues. So we talked about the role of the lymphatic system in the digestive area. So if it's not working well, you can have digestive issues, chronic fatigue, colds and flus, often cold hands and feet, stiffness. So you may not have a really huge apparent swelling ankles, but you may find that your feet are a little stiff. When you get up in the morning, they feel a little swollen. These can all be signs that the lymphatic system needs your love and attention and can use some additional support. So let's talk about some ways that we can support the immune system. Active daily choices that you can make. Again, your health is in your hands for the most part, and making these choices and being conscientious of healthy choices are what's going to support, your lymphatic system and beyond. So again, ignoring the health of the lymphatic system, and this system can get very much ignored because we don't know too much about it until you come to webinars like this and it's explained to you. Ignoring the health of the lymphatic system can lead to a whole bunch of things, and it can lead to very serious health issues. So I've got 7 ways here that we can implement on a daily basis that can be proactive for you in supporting your lymphatic system. And we're going to go through them each, but as a summary, it's drinking more water, as I mentioned, hydrotherapy, exercise, reducing stress, dry brushing, dressing appropriately, and diet. So A few of those we see over and over again in what we're going to call a health picture. So we always see reducing stress. We're always seeing maintain a good diet and hydration. But let's now fit them into the lens of the lymphatic system. Okay, so let's keep the water coming. That's an important thing to do. Water is not only a great life source, it's essential for proper lymph fluid movement in the body. Without water, without hydration, the lymph can become stagnant and slow, and it can accumulate waste, kind of like a sludge, a sludge filling up a drain. You can envision the lymphatic system as a drain, even. And if this drain gets clogged or sludgy, then there are going to be issues, and things can get backed up, and that's not what we want. People ask me all the time how much water you need. Most of us will not drink too much water. So I always say, if like now my mouth is getting dry and need a sip of water, we want to aim for about 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. And that's the minimum. But don't forget, you can get water in the fruit that you're eating, in herbal teas that are not caffeinated. You can add lemon to water. You can put mint in your water with cucumber. It doesn't just have to be straight water. So varying it up. I like to put a bit of chlorophyll in my water. That helps with a number of things, but it's also, for me, it's tasty. But getting this water in is really, really important. And as I said, it's important for so many aspects of health, but we're focusing here on the lymphatic system. So this is where we really want to talk about water and how it just helps things to move along. The way you can judge if you're not getting enough water, one way you can judge is if your urine is more of a darker yellow. So we want it to be a pale yellow. That's one way you can judge. If your mouth gets dry, you should be probably having more water. And often when you don't have enough water in your system, what will happen is you will get hunger pangs. So if you've eaten in the not too distant past and you've got hunger pangs again, try having some water and see if that satisfies those hunger pangs. Hydrotherapy. So speaking of water, hydrotherapy involves the use of water applications for healing in the broad sense, but we're talking about the lymphatic system here. And specifically, an area that is readily accessible to us for a type of hydrotherapy is contrast showers. So again, I want to hearken you back to the understanding that unlike the circulatory system, our lymphatic system does not have a pump. It does not have something that will, without us thinking about it, move this fluid back into the circulatory system from the lymphatic system. It requires many things, but one of them here that we're talking about at the moment is hydrotherapy. So contrast showers, which is altering hot and cold, improves blood circulation. It increases cellular oxidation, enhances immunity, and it also helps with moving this lymph fluid around. And when you move the lymph fluid around, again, you are removing toxins from the body. So this is another thing I want you to keep in mind. If this lymph fluid is not circulating properly, if it's not circulating and going through the nodes and being cleansed out, this can lead to immune problems, and it can lead to health problems and disease because these pathogens are not getting shunted out. When we're talking in the area of cancer care, a well-run lymphatic system will leach out cancer cells, will take care of them for the most part. So when it comes to cancer care and cancer prevention, which we are all trying to do, taking care of the lymphatic system is an important piece of it. Increasing circulation by running, by walking, by exercising. So again, this contraction of the muscles and movements of joints act to squeeze the tissue and squeeze the fluid into and around the lymphatic system. So daily exercise also causes us to breathe more deeply, and this breathing also helps with the lymphatic circulation and the movement and drainage of the lymphatic fluid into the circulatory system, changing the rate of breathing, changing the breath rate, changing up things as we are moving, high intensity, training, running, all of these things. Movement is an important part of the lymphatic system health. One of the best exercises for specifically working with the lymphatic system is rebounding. And a rebounder is the equivalent of a small trampoline. And this really does push the lymphatic fluid around with the contractions of the body and the jump. And there's something about that peak just before you start on your way down, sort of you're going on a roller coaster, you're at the top and then you flush down. That peak and then down really does help to move this fluid along. So rebounding is a great thing. They're not too expensive, 5 to 10 minutes every once in a while, just to change things up and really help with that flushing of the fluid around. Relieving stress. So you wonder how stress impacts the lymphatic system when we're talking about, something that doesn't have a pump and something that's just a movement of fluid around. But stress, as in most other areas of health, has a great impact on the lymphatic system. And when we experience stress, cortisol, which is one of the stress fighting hormones, is released. Prolonged, so we're talking about here prolonged stress. Acute stressors, this is life, we deal with them, we move on. But when there is prolonged stress, this elevated cortisol and exposure to cortisol can break down lymphoid tissue, and it can impede lymphatic flow. So it does impact physiologically the lymphatic system. So ways to manage stress, if you've been on other webinars, these will come back to you over and over again, but they always bear reminding, so that they're forefront in your mind when you have a stressor that you need to deal with. Posture is important. So posture will help with physiological stress. So if your shoulders are clenched, your arms are clenched, you're slouching over, a good posture really helps you bring to mind the alignment of the body. Stretching regularly. So stretching relieves physiological stress. It helps to, again, make the fluid, move the muscles and the joints, helping things to circulate better so we can relieve stress by stretching regularly, implementing exercise, whatever you need to relieve your chronic stress, something that's been continually bothering you, reading a book, listening to music, meditating, deep breathing is amazing. And we're going to talk about breath in a minute. Also yoga and Pilates. So you can go on to YouTube. I would scare you if I tried to demonstrate some of these positions, but there are many positions that within yoga that are very helpful for supporting the lymphatic system and lymphatic drainage. So you can really, they're quite accessible just going on YouTube. The movements aren't difficult, but again, another way, a fun way, a novel way maybe of helping to support your lymphatic system. But I want to get back to breathing, and because breathing is, we do it every day, we do it all the time, but by changing up the breathing, we can really help to support the immune system and alleviate stress. So before you start with any breathing technique, you need to do about 30 seconds of regular breathing just to bring you into the headspace. So start, if you're going to go back, I will send you out the recording of this. So if you want to go back and listen to this segment of it, first off, with your breathing, you want to start with 30 seconds of just regular breathing. Now I'm going to give you 3 types of breathing that I've researched here for lymphatic health, for stress elimination. And if you are a yoga person, Ujjayi breathing and Ujjayi breath will be something that you're familiar with. And this is very good for calming the mind. And it's inhaling and exhaling through your nose. And you make this noise along the back of your throat. And it's a forced breathing, and you take each breath a little deeper, and then the last one is like a long outward breath. So again, so I don't kind of frighten you with the way I would do this, Google this. They'll show you how to do it on YouTube. Bellows breathing. This is really good breath technique for refreshing and rejuvenating. And this involves making fists, raising them above your head, inhaling through your mouth, and with each exhale, you're going to bring your elbows down to your side with a noise, a ha, or some sort of whatever you want to exhale. So it's a light up and then a forced ha through your mouth and down, and really helps to calm things. And one of my favorite breaths, a 3-part breath, and I recommend this very frequently to people that I work with. This is one that I do want to take time here with you and do, because it can be very beneficial for acute stressors. I find it very beneficial when I am going to bed and my mind is racing, and I do this breath for however long it takes for me to calm down. So what I want you to do is sit here for, we're not going to do maybe 30 breaths, but take a couple, let's take 3 sort of deep breaths. And what we're going to do is we're going to, when I say so, after you've taken your 3 breaths, I want you to, on the 4th, we're going to breathe in for 4, hold it for 7, and exhale for 8. So let's start now, and let's take 3 calming breaths. And feel free to close your eyes for this. So now on this breath, I want you to draw the air in for 4, hold it for 7, and out for 8. So I'll count you through this. So I want you to breathe in for 4, hold it for 7, and then out for 8. And do this as often as you need to help with stress, to help with clearing your mind. And when you get more confident in this breathing technique, I want you to envision your lymph fluid flowing around your body, envisioning it being cleansed, envision it going through the lymph nodes. And this is doing this on the holding of the 7 and out through the 8. Envision your breathing literally and physiologically flushing the lymph system, rejuvenating you, cleansing you, and strengthening the immune system. Another great technique for supporting the lymphatic system is dry brushing. So there's a picture here of a dry brush, easy to get on Amazon. A lot of drugstores will have them, some have the handle. What dry brushing does is it helps to remove toxins that have built up on the skin. It's a gentle brushing, and it also boosts the lymphatic system and the stimulation of the movement of that fluid by the technique of dry brushing. So you'll look for a brush that has natural fibers, and once you have yours, it is recommended to do this before you shower so that the skin that you fluff off you can remove during the shower. You want to start at your feet. And a reminder, this should be a very relaxing brushing. This is not something that you're going too deep with. Your lymphatic system is just below your skin level. So it's not deep down, and you don't want to aggravate things. You just want, this should be very peaceful and calming. And it's a great duo with your breathing technique. So just a gentle brushing, and you start at your feet and you move up towards your groin. So up, you've got a depository basically in one area just below your groin, or just above your groin actually, and you want to dry brush up into that area and stop right around your stomach area. So do your feet, you can do your legs, all over, and you repeat the process on both legs up to sort of your midsection. And then you want to repeat this process with your torso and your arms and draining into the area. So you want to brush both sides all over, and again, bring the fluid up here to drain into this area. Doing this, if you can make this a habit on a daily basis, it's very beneficial, very beneficial. It helps, as I said, to remove excess skin or dead skin. So it makes your skin look nicer. And again, you've got a microbiome on your skin. It enhances the microbiome, helps with blood circulation, detoxification, and just overall support of the lymphatic system. Okay, so what this is, get cozy to stimulate your system. This is my slide. This is me before COVID, because right now I'm at home all the time and I'm in my track pants and I'm in comfy clothes. When you get home from work, you know, when you come home, you've worn the nice shoes, you've got the nice clothes on, get into comfortable clothing. When you wear clothes that are too tight fitting, this can impede the lymphatic flow. So be mindful of how tight things are around your stomach, your pants, bras, underwire bras that can impede flow of the lymphatic fluid. And remember, you've got a lot that's going on up here with your lymphatic system. So wearing things that are too restrictive here for a prolonged period of time can impede lymphatic flow. So when you get home, take the bra off, take, the tight pants off, and just get comfy and allow the lymphatic fluid to flow unimpeded. I mean, this is not to say not to wear tight fitting clothes at all, but just, give your body some breaks. So when you, like I said, if you've worn something that's a little binding, get it to some loose fitting clothes, let it all hang loose, and get that lymphatic tissue and lymphatic fluid flowing. And of course, we're going to talk a bit about diet. Diet plays a significant role in how the body performs, and really no exception when it comes to the lymphatic system. And it's more important, I think, we talk, many of you are on the webinars frequently that I have. We know that the basics of one of the key points is eliminating processed foods. And it's no exception, again, when we're talking about the lymphatic system. So bad fats, processed foods, anything that doesn't move you forward with your health, you want to eliminate for overall health and, again, for the lymphatic system. So we're going to include good grains, vegetables, healthy fats and fruits, nuts. And overall, you just want to maintain a good, healthy diet and a good, healthy weight. Plan your meals. Stock your pantry with healthy things. These are things that we've talked about many times, but I just want to reiterate here when it comes to the lymphatic system. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on diet because I think we've touched a lot of it. But again, lots of veggies. If you're a meat eater, we want to make sure that it's about 80% vegetables and grains and 20% of protein. And this really does, in all aspects, when your health is functioning on all systems, it supports all systems. So when you're eating well, when you're supporting the microbiome, when you're supporting cardiovascular health, detoxification processes, this just enhances the efficacy of the lymphatic system. And I wanted to just talk about salt here. Now, we need salt. There's no question that we need sodium in our diet. But what we do know is that excess sodium can lead to more of a dehydrated state. Where sodium goes, water follows. So excess salt intake can cause water and fluids to be drawn out from the blood vessels into the interstitial fluids, into the interstitial cells. And again, this is where the lymphatic system rules the show, is sucking up that fluid from the interstitial cells. So if we have too much salt, if we're creating an abundance of fluid in the cellular environment, this can be a burden to the lymphatic system. So I'm not saying that to remove salt from your diet. What I'm saying is to be mindful. And again, we're talking, foods that are very high in sodium are a lot of processed foods, processed meats, deli meats. Those are all things that have a lot of sodium in them. So do be mindful when you're eating processed foods and you want to take care of the lymphatic system. If you have to make a significant change in your diet, we're talking about eating a healthy diet. If you are at the onset of a diet change, switching over from a lot of processed foods and into one that's loaded with fruits and vegetables and grains and all healthy foods, you may want to put a strategy in place here, because what can happen if you are switching over to a healthy diet is you can have an elimination, a detox reaction. So I just wanted to quickly point this out to you. If after the webinar you decide, hey, I want to change things up and go on more of a clean diet, try and start doing these changes on and during a time, maybe the weekend, where you have some time and some space to start a new diet, to maybe deal with symptoms that might come with that. So you may have a change in bowel movement, you may experience some headaches, depending on how hard you're going at this. But just a few tips here. So again, start when you have time, when you're not rushed, when you can plan things out. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have all the foods that you want to incorporate in your diet on hand. Don't put yourself in situations where you're going to be challenged. So don't start a new diet if you are going out to dinner, if you've got birthday parties coming, just not a good idea. So overall, set yourself up for success if you are trying to incorporate a whole bunch of new foods at once, if you're trying to change your health direction in a quick manner. I do want to let you know that in thinking of this, I decided that it might be a nice idea to give you some help here with this. So just some suggestions if you want to make some quick diet changes. I love smoothies and salads. I think you can just incorporate so many things into smoothies and salads that are healthful. They're easy to do. To me, a smoothie is a ground up salad. You can just throw everything in from a salad into a smoothie if you want, grind it up. So what I wanted to do to help you out is I will send the link. Hopefully I don't forget when I do, but I created a 7-day smoothie recipe book for you to help you with a transition, or to help you to support if you walk away from the webinar and you want to make even small changes. So just some smoothies that you can, of course, people who work with me know that my recipes are always adaptable. So if there's something in them that you don't like, or some additions you can add to them. But in the spirit of changing diets or supporting you, if you want to make some changes, I'll send you a link. It's on my website, so you can go to it now. I think I've asked somebody just to upload it this morning, so it may be there now. But if you go to my website, cathybiase.com, and go under resources, somewhere in there it's called 7 Smashing Smoothies. So you have one for every day of the week. But again, back to elimination and supporting what you're doing. And if you're making large scale changes, you may experience headaches, you may experience some sluggishness, whatever. Just know that this is normal over a short period of time, but stay true to what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water if you're changing things over. Exercise is also good, but implement changes. They don't have to be grand scale changes all at once, but in case you do want to, as I said, in case you do want to jump right into things, know that these symptoms are not untoward, and that it's just your body saying, hey, we're working at different speeds now, and thanks, and we're going to eliminate some stuff that we've been trying to get rid of for a while. So 47 minutes I have here, almost 48 minutes. I want to make sure that if you have any questions, we can get to them. So thank you so much for joining us, joining me my counterpart has left. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate the great response I get to these webinars. And if you ever have any ideas that you want me to consider, please email me and let me know. I'm here to do whatever I can to support you on your health journey. And having, you know, such kind things said and great ideas is just helps me along. So again, thank you for joining me. I will stop sharing my screen and we'll have some questions if you have any. All right, so let me go into the chat. So if you have, bananas are good. Yes, bananas are, I know bananas can get a bad go of it. And depending if you're following specific diets, as many of you know, I'm very much for individualized diets. I try, when I work with people, I try and find out where their likes and dislikes are. If I was going to say, do I follow a particular diet style, it would be more along the Mediterranean diet. Bananas are very healthful. I know that they get a rap because they contain a higher amount of sugar, but they have so many other wonderful things. And again, when we're talking about eating a specific food or a specific food, and you don't want to eat too much of the same thing all the time. So as long as you're rotating foods, any whole food is good, unless you have a problem with absorbing it. And in that case, we have to think maybe about there's an issue with the gut. Eating plain Cheerios. Okay, here's my deal with cereal. I am a cereal freak. I love cereal. So I don't eat Cheerios anymore. I've moved over to whole oats. They're a little bit more healthy. Again, if you are a lover of Cheerios and we're talking about making small changes to help with you moving forward in your health space, cut down maybe on the amount of Cheerios and add in things like seeds and blueberries, seeds like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, add in hemp seeds, chia seed. I also will add in nuts to my cereals. I have a post on Instagram from a while back and I put in, it was my healthy cereal. So really there wasn't much cereal in there. It was just enough to give me that crunch that I like. I also add nuts, and one of the things I love to add to my cereal is bee pollen. So I love that. So again, you've got to give yourself some space to grow and change with your diet. And don't ever lose the fact that you want to enjoy what you eat. Angela, how does the imbalance occur to the point where disease occurs? And just curious, can you explain the role of the mesentery in the lymph? Okay, so the mesentery, I will email you. That's a little bit lengthy here. So the point where disease will take place. So imagine the lymph fluid is coming into the system, into the lymph fluid system, and it's supposed to go through those nodes. The nodes are like the dishwasher, and they are going to clear all of the debris, waste, pathogens that are going into, that have been found in that interstitial fluid, absorbed into the lymph system. And those nodes are going to filter things out. So there are two ways that, two basic ways that disease can occur here, is if this fluid is not absorbed properly, if there's a lot of this fluid left in the interstitial, it's not being cleaned, or if there's a breakdown somewhere along the lymphatic system or the clearing system, and the nodes are not able to clear out pathogens. And if the lymph nodes, if the lymph system is also not able to create some of the immune system, the T cells and the B cells. So remember, we have the thymus and the bone marrow where the immune system is nurtured and grown. And if these are impacted, then this can have an issue with our health and with our immune system. And again, the circulatory system, if the fluid is not absorbed properly, it can greatly impact the circulatory system, causing blood pressure and the blood fluid and blood volume to drop. Does anyone else have any questions? I'm seeing hands up. Okay. Oh my gosh, sorry, I was at the wrong space. Okay. Smoothies. Are these replacing a meal or in addition to a meal? They certainly can be a meal. They can be a breakfast meal, whatever you like. If they're not filling enough, you can certainly add to them. Oh, thank you, Doris. Yes, so they're free to you. Again, they can certainly be a meal replacement. Some of them do have protein, some of them don't have protein. So, and you can, they're not just always for breakfast, right? You can have them throughout the day. They can be a great snack. So don't just think smoothies for breakfast. I know we get into this idea, that we have these certain things and certain types of foods are certain meals, but smoothies you can have them all throughout the day. Okay, you mentioned 80% veg grain and 20% protein. What about carbs specifically, or is that included in the grains? Yeah, so you get lots of carbs in a well-balanced diet. You get lots of complex carbohydrates in your fruits, vegetables, and in the grains. Okay, I've been told that I have lymphedema. Can following your tips repair the lymphatic system or lymphedema? It can certainly help. I need to be more specific about what I mean, I too have lymphedema. I go for I have it in my right arm because I had surgery and lymph nodes removed. So it's something that I deal with every day. I go to lymphatic massages once a month, and I also have a band on my arm, but I know why that is. My lymphatic system has been damaged. So these are definitely supportive of helping manage lymphedema, definitely supportive of helping manage it. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? All right, so we'll leave it there. We're right at about an hour, which is perfect. I will send the replay of this out. I'll do some editing. And with that, so you can go on my website, which is, I'll type it in here. And hopefully it's up. And resources, and that's where you can find the smoothies. So you can download those. I will try and remember to put it in as a link when I send it out to you. But otherwise, thank you so much, everybody. I know that I talk fast and I try and get a lot of information in here, but I just want to make sure that it's so worth your time because I value you coming here. And so I will be sending you out more information about upcoming webinars. I've got a really good one coming up about choosing happiness as a choice with a New York Times author. So I'll definitely be sending you out that stuff. And again, anything that you want me to talk about, if it's within my capabilities and I feel that I can talk to you about it with some sort of knowledge, please do let me know and I will help. Okay, so everybody, thank you so much. Enjoy Wednesday and we'll talk to you soon.